Hello and welcome back to the Engerati studio here at European Utility Week. I'm joined now by Benoit from Ernst & Young, who's the Global Power and Utility Lead. And Benoit also worked at EDF as CIO, I think is very well placed to talk about some of the issues affecting the utility industry. And we were talking a little bit off-air, Benoit, about, and again, I always ask all the experts who are here, what are some of the issues? And this is one that we've covered, albeit from a different angle as well. But you were talking about a capability crunch that's coming our way. And I'm not going to put words in your mouth, so I'll let you explain what you're seeing in terms of that capability crunch.
Okay, well, I'm seeing it as twofold. So there is a capability crunch in terms of both the number of people and also in terms of the skills available. So, and that goes from all aspects of the supply chain when we look at smart metering and smart metering projects. So whether it is about installing meters or manufacturing meters, or whether it is about preparing the organization for using the smart metering. So whether it's the IT functions, the projects that are going along, in all of those components, we are lacking good resources. And that extends to the supply chain, so that extends to the consultant and the system integrators that are also struggling to cope with the demand.
And you had personal first-hand experience of some of the challenges of getting the capabilities in when you were doing a major rollout or a major problem?
Yes, I mean, if I look back let's take the UK as an example, and in specifically when one utility company is installing a billing system. These are big projects, and the UK could about cope with 2, maybe 3 of those big billing projects going on at the same time. And that was a massive stress on the UK consulting market, system integrators, as well as obviously the energy company implementing the system, which is always difficult to implement one of those. Imagining the world now where not only in the UK, all 6 of the retailers are implementing their smart metering solutions. So that's equivalent to 6 billing systems being upgraded and updated. So I'm talking 2 or 3 years of significant projects. And the UK can't even call out on their European partners and the resource coming from different parts of Europe, because Europe is also doing smart metering, and actually every single country at the same time is implementing smart.
Is the thing that's driving this crunch the whole 2020 deadline? Is that what's causing the crunch, or what's manifesting this sort of confluence of projects?
Sure. So I mean, I think that obviously deadline and European directives and deadline that are forcing most of the European countries to do something through a similar timescales are obviously going to have an impact on resourcing. That's clear. I think. The different approach from different countries has potentially helped a bit. I mean, we shouldn't look at it just purely as a negative. There's a very positive news at the back of it. This is good for the economy. I was going to say, when you have a skills crunch, you need more people. Absolutely right. So in period of coming out of the crisis in Europe for the last few years, this is an opportunity to recruit more people, to train more people, and in all walks of life, from meter installers to IT to project management. So in every different area of the project and programs, there's needs and requirement for good trained people.
So whenever there is a conversation around a capability crunch, and I think there's a similar conversation going on in the digital world where we need more coders and programmers and all that sort of stuff. The question I always ask is, well, what's the solution? So Benoit, you're in charge for a day, so you can do whatever you want. What's the solution? Where do you think this industry needs to go?
Right, so I think the main message from a solutions point of view is there isn't anymore a one single answer. There isn't the answer, or I'm going to choose and partner with one company and they're going to sort it all out for me. That just doesn't work in a world where it's capability shortages. Most organizations can manage 1 or 2 of those implementation, but not 3 or 4 in each of the countries. So what we're talking about really is creation of ecosystem which have 5, 6, 10 different partners all working together for one of the energy company to make it successful. And in that way, you're getting the best of breed from all of those. So the complexity comes into how do you manage that ecosystem. That, at the same time, doesn't alleviate the fact that you still need to recruit and train more resources, but you're not doing it in a centralized way anymore. You're relying on a number of organizations to build up their skills, and each of them brings the best of their ability to the table.
And now I'm speculating here, because I don't know the deep dive of the issue, but I have been involved in a parallel issue where you have got a again, you know, skill set gap in terms of programmers and people like that for digital online and all that sort of stuff, and some of the key issues in that world were that the company with the project, be it the government or whatever they wanted to do in terms of e-governance or whatever, they had the money, but they didn't want to take the risk of employing a one-man consultant or a startup or a thing like that. Is that dynamic happening in this space as well, or is it less so?
Yeah, so we've seen that. So in the early days of smart metering, certainly in the UK, but in other countries as well, we've seen a lot of one-man consultants sort of helping, and because when manpower crunch happened, I guess all hands to the pump, anybody that can spell smart metering is suddenly an expert, which makes it quite interesting. So I think we're now moving back to a bit more coordinated ways where the companies are starting to trying to manage their risk and trying to manage the complexity. So it's already a world which is complex with a lot of demands, whether it's IT or field or technology. And now they're looking at, say, creating an ecosystem of 3, 4, 5, 6 different partners that can help them reducing the ambiguity and actually reducing the complexity. For that, you tend to need to have 1 or 2 of your partners that take a bit more of the risk on your behalf, and 1 or 2 of the partners that help you manage the ecosystem a bit better.
That's what I was going to say. Who's taking the risk in terms of, you know, funding the training, bringing the people on, and then running the risk of you know, having that talent pool move on to the next project, which they may not be involved in.
Absolutely right. So we, for example, EY, Ernst & Young, we're looking at taking that risk on behalf of some of our clients, recruiting from the market, creating and augmenting our center of excellence, and starting to use that global workforce to start to say, okay, actually the next 5 years is mostly in Europe. Africa is probably what's happening next, because it's one of the ways to finance generation through installation of smart metering. The Middle East is quite active, maybe more in the water side. So there is effectively a rotation around the world globally of those skills. And we've now got critical mass to both be able to take that risk on behalf of our clients, but also reduce the ambiguity and complexity for them.
And then you can also then shift that workforce around, as you said, globally. So, do you need do you see a need for sort of higher education and to play a role to provide more capability into the system? Because, and also, so it's a twofold answer. There's that question, but also I'm asking the question: is this a sustainable growth? Because, you know, do we need that velocity of influx?
Okay. So firstly, I think the approach to university and training is quite different wherever you are in the world. So it's some countries have put more focus on engineering skills than maybe, let's say, the UK. And so if you look at France, Germany, or places like Korea and China, there's a lot of engineering capability there already. Other countries have taken more of a marketing, sales, finance approach to degree and university. And I guess that shift has started to happen already. So I don't think it's a major education or university. And also from a timing point of view, this is about the next 5 years, a lot about the next 5 years. So it's probably a little bit too late to do something from a university point of view. I think it's more a question of focusing the resources from wherever they are today in the world and placing them in the right place. For example, the US have gone through a lot with smart metering already, and there's a lot of really good, capable resources in the US. So that's really maybe to divert a bit more towards Europe and Middle East or Africa. So it's a question of...
it's a whole new way of thinking about skills resources, isn't it? Well, you're almost saying we need to think on a global scale, because we're probably going to do this mass smart meter rollout once.
Absolutely
in a global wave, and then it's done, and then it becomes a maintenance exercise, not you know.
Yes, absolutely right. So effectively, organizations that will be successful in helping their clients are organizations that can actually think global and an organization that can actually make it happen, obviously at a geographic level, but have the capability to move their workforce and implement locally.
Okay, and one sort of final question to you, just finishing that subject off, and I know Ernst & Young have got that sort of global web, or you said you'd hit tipping point on it as well. Where are you guys seeing the next big markets in terms of the smart meter rollouts and the smart grid rollouts? Because you must be looking at this from a business planning point of view as well.
I mean, it's very, very simple. Right now, it's a European debate, significant European. So for the next 5, and so it depends what horizon you look at. If you look at the next 5 to 7 years, Europe, and especially Eastern Europe, but the continental Europe and Eastern Europe is going to be a very pretty busy market right now. There are opportunity obviously in the Middle East and Africa, and they are happening at the same time, but I would expect that Africa will probably be slightly behind Europe on that one of it, certainly on that scale that we're seeing in Europe.
Yeah. So that's the progression. Benoit, it's been a pleasure to have you here in the studio, and good to have a refreshing, different conversation as well around what needs to be done in this energy sector. And I want to thank you as well for watching. There are many more panel discussions and interviews going on. Especially excited about one that's happening tomorrow, which is about consumer engagement. So look out for that one. And thanks again for watching. And Benoit, thanks again.
Brilliant. Thank you for having me.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.